Yo, what is up guys? This is G from EastSideMiniMobberz, and in this video we are going to be doing a governor removal on this Predator 212 Hemi, and I'm going to show you guys all the steps on how to do that. So with all that being said, let's just get straight into the video. So we are going to be removing the governor on this Predator 212, and that will also eliminate all of this baloney here. You can see the previous owner tried to do a governor bypass with some sort of wire or something, and who knows if that really works or whatnot. So we're going to be doing it the legit way and removing the governor from this bike, and I'm going to show you guys every single step on how to do it. And with all that being said, let's just get straight into the video. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do and get started working on this is draining the oil. I'm going to get all the old oil that's in this thing out of it. So you can see there's a drain plug on the very back here. There's also one at the front of the motor, and it is a 10 millimeter. And we'll just go ahead and loosen that up and drain the oil in our catch can. And that's the oil coming out of there. All right, and as you can see, all the oil has drained out of this. It's just barely dripping now. So I'm gonna go ahead and reinstall the drain plug and then just make sure it's nice and snug. Right, now that that oil is drained, to do a governor removal, I'm gonna need to take off this gas tank so I can get that arm off. So you can see it's already missing the one bolt in the back. So there's just the two nuts on the front that need to be removed. Millimeter for these two front nuts as well. Now we're gonna need to remove this fuel line so we can get this thing to come off. So you can see the fuel line is right here and it goes straight to the carb. So we're gonna try to do this in the least messiest way possible, because I do believe there's a little bit of gas in there. So I'm gonna need to remove this fuel line here. All right, now with the gas tank removed, you can see we have access to the governor arm up here. But anyway, so now that that's off, the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna start by unbolting this side cover here. And on the side cover, it is just 6 10 millimeter bolts holding it on. Now what I'm gonna go ahead and do is start removing this governor arm. I'm just gonna cut their little bypass here. No need for that anymore. And then it is just a 10 millimeter that is holding this governor arm on. And then this is to your carburetor here. I'm just gonna go ahead and just pull this out and just disconnect this stuff. We will not be needing this. And then we can just get a little screwdriver underneath here. And just like that, if you want to just grab it, put the screwdriver right in the middle and bend outwards, it'll pop this right off. So you can just throw that and set that to the side. And then now we have our governor arm, which might be kind of hard to see, but it moves in there. So what we're gonna need to do is we're gonna need to cut this off with a Dremel here. All right, now the next thing that we're gonna actually do is we're gonna have to cut this governor arm. I'm also just gonna remove this little clip holding it up as well. So now you can see it'll move up and down freely now. And then I'm gonna grab my other hand up in here and hold it up as high as I possibly can. And then I'm gonna take my Dremel and I'm gonna cut this off. All right, now that that part is cut, the governor arm should be able to slide on out. And just like that, with the rotation of the motor, the governor arm can come out. So if we hadn't cut this, it would have been too long and it wouldn't have been able to slide out. And then also when you're done with that, make sure you go and grab the little washer that is on the very, very top of this. If you don't, that's gonna destroy your motor. This is just gonna be stuck up on it with just the oil. But yeah, make sure all the washers off of that arm are removed, and like so. That's out. Now if you look in there, you can see the governor is in there. Now what you're gonna need to do is grab some pliers. Might be kind of hard to see on camera. Grab some pliers, and there's a little plastic cover that comes out that looks just like this, and there's a little washer in there. Make sure you get that out, just like that. All right, and then once you have gotten that out, you're gonna wanna grab a little screwdriver. And then might be kind of hard to see, but there is a little C-clip that is in there. And this is probably the most difficult part about this, because there's these little flaps that constantly like to cover it. But there's a little C-clip in there, and you need to get a screwdriver and kind of just bend it out if you can. And then this is just a plastic part. You're not going to be reusing this. So feel free to hit this pretty good if you want to with like a hammer or something. All right, so it might be kind of hard to see on the GoPro of what I'm actually dealing with. But if you look in there, there is a clip that is around that shaft right there. That is what we're trying to pry on and get it to come off of there so we can get the actual governor gear off. All right, and check it out. Might be kind of hard to see, but if you look in there, I removed that clip, and that clip is right here. Make sure you get this out of the block. You obviously don't want this to stay in there. And you can see it's all bent out. This one was actually pretty difficult. I don't know if it was just difficult because of the age or it was, I don't know, but this one was actually pretty difficult to get out. And I actually had what I did is I got a flathead screwdriver and I actually sanded the tip down where it was super, super sharp and pointy. And I was able to get it in there and just boom, hit it with the hammer. And it was able to get kind of stuck in there, and you're able to kind of pry it out, and that is what gets it to go over the little ridge that's on there. So with that being removed, you should just be able to kind of give this a little tug, and this comes right off just like that. And you can see this clip here was in there like that, holding it on. So now that that junk is out, like I said, kind of look in here, make sure all the debris is out, and make sure, I believe there's another washer on there that needs to come off as well. So you can see there's another washer there. I'm turning it side to side, so that needs to come off as well. Definitely do not leave that in there, because that will become, you know, it'll start flying around and you will have issues. All right, and then if you look in there, you can see the washer just fell off, and there it is. Make sure you get that out. You do not want that in there, and just make sure you check around and there's not any you know, other washers or anything like that in the case before you put everything back together. I'm gonna go and install my bolt in there to completely plug up this hole, because now that that governor arm is out, there is a hole here, and you're gonna have to plug that with a bolt. So let's go ahead and do that now. All right, so what we're gonna do first, I already sprayed this out with some brake clean to make sure it's nice and clean. There's no oil residue, nothing like that. And what you're gonna have to go and buy at the hardware store is a 1/4 20 self-tapper or metal threading screw or whatever they call it, because there's multiple things it goes under. But it'll look like this. It's a 1/4 20, and if you kind of like line it up with where that's gonna go, you can see it's the full length almost of this casing mold here, and that's gonna actually thread in, and that's gonna completely seal up that hole. And when you do this, I recommend you use red high strength thread locker, because this is you're never gonna want this to come out or, you know, come loose or anything like that. I've even seen some people put JB Weld actually on the threads and around there, so that makes a complete seal. But usually this with some red thread locker, this usually works out pretty good. But yeah, so what you're gonna have to do is pretty much just throw it in, and I'm gonna show you how. So I'm gonna take my red thread locker here. Make sure you get a decent amount all on the threads too. This is a part that you really don't want ever to come out. And then we will take our socket. This one happens to be a 10mm hex head, but you can get some of them with different heads and stuff like that as well. I'm just going to kind of try to make sure that's lined up as good as I can right there. And then we'll get our driver here and just drive this in. Just like that. That's probably in there good with the impact, but I'm also just going to double check that it's all the way seated down, and it is. This is not going anywhere. That's nice and tight. So you can see that is completely sealed up, completely installed and bottomed out, and you can see it is pretty much flush with the inside of the block there. So that's exactly what you want, and that's perfect right there. So now the whole governor removal is pretty much done. You just want to make sure you clean out this block real good. If you want, try to hit it with some brake clean. Make sure it's nice and clean, and scrape off the rest of this gasket material, which I'm going to do right now. Just going to take these dowels out here and just start cleaning up this gasket material that's still kind of stuck on here. And I'm just going to use a razor blade just to kind of clean up the surface here. Be very careful with this. You don't want to go too deep because you'll nick the case. And you don't want to do that. All right, so now we can go ahead and put our side cover back on. I've cleaned this up a bit. I've put my dowels back in, and then I've also put a brand new fresh gasket on there. So this is ready to just go ahead and slide on over. I also like to put a little bit of like assembly lube or just like all-purpose oil on here as well, just so it's not going on dry. And this will just slide on over. Make sure you line up where the cam goes, and make sure you line up the dowels as well. Plus with the dowels on there, this should keep the gasket kind of in place for you as well. Just like that, it'll snap right on. You shouldn't have to really hit this with a hammer or pound it on or anything. If you do, it's probably not lined up right. But anyways, that is fully seated, ready to go. So now we can take our bolts here, which I've cleaned up. I'm also going to throw some blue thread locker on it, just a little bit. These bolts kind of are notorious for backing out or coming a little loose under vibration and stuff. So we're just going to do a little bit on each one, just for good measure to make sure that this stays nice and tight. All right, and then first we'll just snug these down with our ratchet, and then we'll actually torque them to spec. All right, and then snugging these down, make sure you kind of try to do it in an even pattern as well, so it properly seats that that gasket. And I torqued these down to 204 inch-pounds, which is the equivalent of 17 foot-pounds is actually what these call for. So, and then one last go around, make sure they're all nice and torqued, double check them, because these will back out on you if they're not, especially if you're running like a different aftermarket bolt as well. These do like to loosen up. And just like that, governor is removed. And just like that, everything is buttoned up, ready to go. Now, all you got to do is just add some oil. All right, now time to put oil in this and fill it up, get it ready to go. These take about a half a quart, but usually I'll have it level and I'll fill it up to where it's at the top thread there. That's how you know it's ready to go. And this is what I'm going to use, some Maxima Premium High Performance Engine Oil. So this will be good for this, of course. And we're just going to fill this thing on up. And just like that, she is ready to go. If you want, you can go ahead and throw on your gas tank and that sort of thing if you like, but I'm going to be doing some more stuff to this motor in another video that you will see. So I'm going to go ahead and leave that off for now. And once you do remove the governor, if you are going to be running like a Mikuni carburetor, you can go ahead and just unbolt this whole entire throttle linkage deal, because you're not going to be needing it and using it. If you would like to still run the stock carburetor with a governor removal, I do believe there's going to be you're going to have to reroute like the throttle linkage and whatnot in a different way, or you might have to get a different throttle linkage like adapter that mounts to the side cover here or the blower cover here, where you're still able to, you know, reuse how this works here if you want to reuse your stock carburetor, but they're garbage anyways. So I would recommend just getting like a cheap like 22mm Mikuni from Amazon or something if you wanted to, because those work way better than the stock ones do. More tunability and more performance, of course. So with all that being said, the governor removal is done. I hope this video helped you guys and kind of gave you a little bit insight on how to do it, a little bit better view as well with the camera in there, so you could really see how to take out that little clip. And with all that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope this video was helpful. Drop any comments down below if you need help or any questions or comments or concerns. And with all that being said, make sure you guys comment, like, and subscribe. And peace!